Hello, beloved ones. I'm so glad that you've joined me today because I want to talk about something that is very serious and can have a crippling effect upon an individual. And that is shame. Now, I've talked about this in another video as well, but today I want to talk about breaking that cycle of shame. In order to heal any kind of pain cycle, you have to break the cycle. What happens is, for each one of you, a collection of experiences, messages, environment, all come together to assist you in creating certain cycles of how you think and how you feel, how you perceive, and how you react. Right? So these cycles can be positive, they can be negative, and of course ultimately they are based on who you are as a person. But what assists you in creating them is that which is outside of you, right? Family influence, environment, community, all the influences that were there in your very formative years. And what can happen, and what happens to most people, is a cycle of shame is created. Now, some of this happens individually in certain family dynamics. It can happen from one terrible traumatic incident, and it can also happen from the wider community, religious communities, cultural communities, and also from gender, sexual orientation, things that make someone that they believe they don't quite fit in the parameters that the society they grew up in has set forth. So all these factors come into play when creating shame, cycles of shame. Now, a cycle of shame is different than experiencing shame based on a certain situation or one experience, all right? That is, like all feelings, that is transitory. It comes, it goes, and does not stay. But a cycle is something you create that gets triggered over and over and over and over again, depending on the situations and the people you interact with. A shame cycle can be one of the most debilitating cycles that people create in their lives and continue to utilize. So I would like to give you some very simple ways to begin the process of breaking that cycle. Right? So the first thing is, familiarize yourself with how you feel shame and what are the components of your shame cycle. Right? Everyone, it's going to be individual. There are certain things that are set up within the cycle. The better that you know, the more conscious you are about your shame cycle, the easier it's going to be to interrupt that cycle, right? So let's say, for example, when the shame cycle begins, maybe you get very quiet. It's hard for you to speak up for yourself, hard for you to express your opinions or what you are thinking or even what you are feeling. And then you get a feeling in your body, almost like a cold, numb feeling that rushes through your body. This can be a type of adrenaline response, a fight or flight response that comes when you start to, the cycle begins, right? And then let's say another step or another component in the cycle is that you feel the desire to withdraw, to isolate, right? And then once you are isolated, then the next component is self-pity. You feel very sorry for yourself. And when you feel sorry for yourself, you want to do destructive things. Eat too much, or you just want to eat sugar, or you want to cover it all up by drinking or smoking marijuana, or all these different types of behaviors, right? So there is your shame cycle. And your shame cycle can look a lot like your fear cycle, or an anxiety cycle, a depression cycle. So, but there's going to be very unique and specific components to your shame cycle. So the first thing, always get to know what this cycle is. There might be some changes, some differences, depending on the circumstance, but most of the elements stay the same. So once you get to know your shame cycle, at any point, there is the opportunity to interrupt that cycle. Now, the farther into the cycle it goes, the harder it is to interrupt or break the cycle. Let's say you get to know your cycle well enough so that in the very beginning, when you feel the shame rise within you and immediately you want to not speak, you want to not express yourself, even if you don't exactly know what you want to say, or that maybe you have anything really to say, but to clamp down on saying anything, to not allow yourself to speak, that you recognize is the first step in the cycle. So to interrupt that cycle, to break that cycle, you must tell yourself no. The power of no, I can't express it enough. It can be life-changing when you tell yourself no. We are not going through this cycle. Even when you get to the end of the cycle, to the reactive phase, where you want to eat lots of sugar, to say no. No. You don't have to justify the no. You don't have to explain it to yourself. But you do have to use it to say no. When you say that word within yourself out loud, with power, with strength, and with courage, no, it changes the energy of the cycle. right there in the moment. You still don't have to say anything. You still don't have to express yourself. This is not about doing the opposite necessarily. Oh, well, if I'm keeping myself back from speaking, then I have to speak. No, don't look at it that way. When you interrupt the cycle, you give yourself the freedom to either speak or not speak, express yourself or not express yourself. But you are not making the choice from the energy of shame. You are making that choice from the energy of love. When you say no and you interrupt that cycle, all of a sudden love can fill that space. To say, well, what do we need in this moment? Do I need to speak? Do I need to express myself vocally with whomever is involved in this situation? Do I need to talk about that feeling of shame that just came up? Maybe not with the person that I'm in the situation with. Maybe I need to take myself out of the situation and call a friend, or make an extra appointment with my therapist. Or now I'm starting to realize that I need a therapist, because now that I've gotten to know my shame cycle, I recognize that it happens a lot. When you say no at any place in the cycle, it gives you the opportunity to make decisions from a place of freedom, not being in bondage to the cycle itself. And that no comes from your commitment to self, the commitment to do whatever it takes to free yourself from the bondage of a shame cycle. And if you can't say no, or even if you interrupt one part of the cycle, all of a sudden you realize in the next day or two that you are unconsciously participating in the other parts of the cycle. Please just be kind to yourself and understand that it's normal, that it's going to happen. It's going to take you time to unravel this whole cycle and to change your inner connection to this cycle. How you perceive the cycle, that it's not something you have to be enslaved to, that you are ultimately powerless over. Some of it you may be. That's where you call me in. Mother, please, help me with this one part. I'm consistently unable to seek help when I get to this one part in my cycle. Please help me. And I will do it. Together we can break this cycle. So 3 steps. 1, get to know your shame cycle. 2, utilize the power of no to interrupt the cycle. And 3, get the help you need to unravel that cycle, to figure out where you falter in that cycle over and over again. What's the weak point where you need support and help? Ask for that help from friends, therapists or professional, and from the divine. And that way you can move through your shame and recognize that it's highly likely that this cycle you are perpetuating no longer has much of an attachment around the events themselves. You may have surprisingly come to peace with many of these events, but you are just stuck in the cycle. Dive into this one, beloved ones. If shame is a problem for you, know that you can co-create your way out of these cycles. And I'll be with you all the way. Namaste. Hi, it's Danielle, creator and founder of Beloved Publications, your home of Mother Mary's teachings as they're channeled through me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. If you're interested in more of Mother's teachings, please visit our website, www.belovedpublications.com. And there you'll find lots of great ways of connecting with Mother. And if you want to join our community, you get an awesome free mini course on preparing for and connecting with your spirit guides. You will love it. So I hope to see you there soon. Thanks so much.